Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Avini Vibes. We're very, very excited to be here. It's September 4th, 2025. Wow, fall's in the air, isn't it? I'm in New York here, and we've had the most perfect weather for the U.S. Open. I don't know if there's any tennis fans in the house, but I've been glued to that TV while working and sharing, but it's just beautiful weather. However, this is a disclaimer. Carol and I both shift of weather. So if you lose us and you see us disappear, Carol, we're our co-host. Just know that someone else will take over because we're both amidst of the storms that are coming through right about now. So welcome to Avini Vibes. If you're a guest, thank you for taking time to be with us. You should really thank the person that invited you because this is really going to blow your mind. We're very blessed to have the most amazing products, the most amazing leadership and company. It's a company that a group of people like ourselves, yourselves, are changing lives, really making the difference in lives. You know, we're taking the bad stuff out is what we're doing, and we're making way for the good. So just a reminder, we do not make any medical claims. We do not diagnose or treat. Okay, we're here to educate and learn, and we're very thrilled tonight to have two special guests. And I'm going to start with introducing her and her husband, David. And some of you already know her because she's a real special gal. And I've had the opportunity to visit with her a few times and very blessed to get a chance to get to know her more so. Tonight is Stephanie Cook and her husband, David. David is an MD and he's also a regenerative specialist, and they live in South Jordan, Utah. So, and oh, get this, guess how many children they have amongst the two of them? Anyone want to guess? Nine, lucky nine. God bless, right? So thank you, Stephanie. Why don't you unmute and we want to hear from you? I'm going to be quiet. We try to get everybody out of here at about 35 minutes or so. But Stephanie, please join us and share, if you would, your story, how you got invited to Avini and what you learned and what has it done for you. Thank you for being here. And thank you, David.
All right, thank you for having us. Um, so I actually learned about Avini through Rick's products back in a previous company, and I started using the Cell Defender back in March of 21. And I had an uncle that was in kidney failure, and so I found out about the products and immediately bought them, got it on a plane, and took them to him because I wanted to see if we could help him. And amazingly enough, we did. He was out of that problem within a month and just completely floored his doctors. And then I thought, okay, well, if that can do that for him, I guess I should probably take these. My blood work was great. I wasn't worried about it. But one of the things that I noticed from taking the Cell Defender specifically was I had less brain fog. I had better sleep. I had my eyesight got better. I actually was dealing with a couple of issues with noises, and I'd been in a couple of nasty car accidents, got some great whiplash, and I was having some problems with like fluorescent lights and going outside and all those things. And within just a few months, I was doing those without the headaches and without all the problems. So that was exciting. And then David and I actually, we hadn't been married at the time. In that moment, we were actually taking a break. And we reconnected in June of 21. And we actually got engaged in July of 21. But he wasn't very excited about what he saw because he wouldn't look. And which, has kind of been my experience with most doctors. They know all the things and they don't need to look at anything new. And such was the way, with my cute husband. And so he didn't look at it for quite a while. And, we went through, our growing pains with Rick's products. And then fast forwarded, we got married in April of 22. And then Avini was born in May of 22. And because I had a brand new marriage and a brand new, husband, and I took a little bit, I stepped back and just kind of waited to see what would happen. But my brother kind of pushed me a little bit and told me that he had seen it, he'd gone to the meetings, he'd done the things, and this was where we needed to be. So we signed up in July of 22. I did not tell my husband. And the products came. I bought the big pack, and because I like a deal, and the products came. I pulled out the Plus Relief thinking, oh, well, I wonder what this could do for me, because I hadn't really been to any meetings for Avini. And I started using that. And that kind of got David's attention because David has done pain management for over 20 years. And, you know, there wasn't anything that he could prescribe me that would do what the Plus Relief was doing for me. So that was really exciting. And then my dad just kind of continued to drip on him. And and finally in March of 23, he recommended that we come to Las Vegas and meet the biochemist, which we didn't have anything going on that weekend. David was like, why not? Let's go on a drive. So we did, and we ended up in Vegas. And it was a really exciting thing because, you know, here I was watching these people and listening to the testimonials and you know, living with my heart in all of it. And then I was watching him and he was on his phone. And I was frustrated. I'm like, why are we here if you're just going to be on your phone? And then all of a sudden he leans over to me and he goes, Steph, do you know who Eric Deitch is? And I said, well, Rick Deitch is on stage, maybe a brother? And I said, but I don't know. Let's go ask him. So at the break, we walked up to him and we asked him, and he giggled and told us that Eric was, you know, that Rick was short for Eric. And he asked why. And David had found a couple of research papers that he had co-authored, and he was liking what he was seeing. And so he asked, you know, Rick a couple questions. They started having this 13 syllable word conversation that completely went over my head. And we walked away from that, and David's like, hey, we're going to do this. I'm like, okay, that's great. And he goes, so how do we get products? I'm like, they're at home in the closet. I already purchased them. So, so that was kind of funny. So we went home, we did blood work because my husband is a scientist, and you know, got our baselines, and then we started on the products. And it was just really cool to see what happened there. You know, I'd had body discomfort, and all of a sudden I didn't need as much of the Plus Relief as I was using before. And one of the things that I didn't really share much was that I had had some intense depression problems. I had anxiety, I had depression, I had suicidal tendencies. And I had fought that for 32 years. And I hadn't been able to find medication that really took it all away. I found things that numbed things. I found things that made it possible to live life, but I hadn't really found anything that helped, and definitely nothing that took those away because the thoughts were still there. It just, there wasn't as much of a tendency to act on them. And within 2 weeks after starting the Avini products, all of a sudden those thoughts went away. And that was really scary to me because I'd lived with them for so long. I didn't know what to do. And so I just kind of kept it to myself. I didn't talk to David about it. I didn't talk to anyone about it. And then I was actually talking to a friend, and she was sharing with me how her 12-year-old granddaughter was in the hospital for a suicide attempt. And that 12-year little girl inside me broke because that's when it started for me. And so I told her what was going on. And she's like, whatever you're doing, I need it. And I said, well, the problem is I'm not taking anything that's supposed to do this. And she's like, Steph, I need it. She needs this. So I went home, I took myself off of everything, and I went on the products one by one to find out what each one did for me. And the Plus Fiber, you know, not only did it help keep everything regular, which was great because I had never been regular in my life, but it also helped with the body discomfort. And when I used that, I didn't need as much Plus Relief. The Cell Defender, I obviously already knew, you know, better sleep, better eyesight, um, less brain fog, more more energy, and less sugar cravings. Those were the things that really helped me with that one. And then what I found was the Zimmunity mushrooms. When I took the Zimmunity mushrooms, I didn't want to die anymore. And that was huge for me. 32 years. 32 years I spent wanting to. At this point, I'm 2.5 years out. And as long as I'm taking my Zimmunity mushrooms, I don't have problems. Well, so the exciting thing was is I finally shared that in August 31st of 23. It was the first time I shared, and I was scared to death because I was, claiming that these did something that it didn't say it did. And I was afraid of, what the company would do. And I actually got a call a couple days later from the vice president of the company. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to. And he's like, no, 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 I want to put your testimonial on the website. And I'm like, no, you are not welcome to do that. I do not want people to know this about me. I have kept this quiet my whole life. I have not shared. I am not willing. And he's like, well, just think about it. And so strangely enough, my brother called him a couple minutes later, which never happens. And he and I had a conversation, and he's like, Steph, you know, don't you want to help people? And I'm like, I want to help people, but I don't want people to know this about me. And he's like, just Steph. And then a couple minutes later, my husband called me in the middle of the day, which never happens because he's with patients. And, he had the same conversation. And so I got off the phone with him and I called Doug back and I said, okay, do it. Put my testimonial up there. Let's go. You know, and they did. And it was amazing the the response I got of love and kindness and joy that, mental health is there's so much shame in it, and there's so much hardship in hiding it and keeping it to yourself. You know and people, when they find out, they're like, well, just be happy. And I just laugh, and I'm a pretty positive person, but you can't just be happy. You can't control what thoughts go through your head. You can only control what you do with them. And and that was one of the biggest things for me. And so anyway, so I started sharing, more vocally, and using, the mushrooms. I used, in the beginning, I used just 1-in-1. That's all that's all it said on the bottle. I didn't know what it was supposed to do. I didn't know what it would do for me. And so that's all I used. But when I came to my menstruation, or when I came to, more stressful parts in my marriage, I would double up. I would take, one in the morning, or two in the morning, one at night, or I would take two and two, just, based on what was going on for me and the stress level of, everything that was happening. And it worked beautifully. Well, so let's fast forward to July of this year. I haven't had these issues for a while. Every once in a while, I like to see where my baseline is. So I pop off them for a little bit, see how long it takes to have problems, and then pop back on. And I was about a day and a half to 2 days before I would start to have those thoughts pop in. And that was, I needed the mushrooms. That's just all there was to it, because it was the only thing that helped. I am off all my prescriptions. I no longer take any medications that are prescribed. I only take Avini products, a probiotic, and a B12. That's the extent of what is in, and turmeric. We also have turmeric. But that's the extent of what's in my pill case, is just that. And I've been off of that since January of 24. So anyway, which is really exciting because, I didn't think that would ever happen. And I don't have all the side effects and all the garbage and all those things. Anyway, so fast forward to July of this year, I get a call from Neil Roth, which is the CEO of our company. And he says, I want you to know that we see you. We are grateful that you share. And can I tell you a secret? And I'm like, yeah, I love secrets. And I'm like, can I tell my husband though? And he's like, yeah, you can do that. I'm like, great. So he actually sent me the News Immunity product in July so that I could start taking it, because he wanted to make sure that it still was doing for me what I needed it to do. That's the kind of company that we are in. We're in a company that loves the people enough to update products so that they work better, because they want to make our lives better. And we matter. And that was exciting. So I started taking the products, and the first thing I noticed right away was I slept better. I slept deeper, and I woke up as soon as my alarm went off in the morning. I'm up and out of bed. There's no more snoozing. There's no more, and I've been doing, I did the Trim and Slim challenge with Avini. And so I was getting up and going walking every morning. I'm down, well, since the Trim and Slim Challenge started back in May, I'm down 25 pounds. Um, and so that's really exciting. And I put that one wholly to the Plus Balance um, and the protein shake, the meal replacement. So because I was taking all the other ones before, but in adding those, and I do walk more. That's been huge for me. So it's been really exciting to see, what the different things have done. I have a product story for everything except for the cardio, but my husband has a cardio one. We've really, really enjoyed what the Vini products are doing for us, how it's helping us, how it's changed our lives, made our lives better. I am now more mentally and cognitively stronger than I've ever been in my entire life. And I owe that 1000% to the Vini products.
Oh,
So anyway, David, do you want to share a little bit about, what your thoughts on all of this?
thank you,
Um,
Stephanie. Thank you so much, and welcome, David. And David, I forgot to, when I introduced you, you're also in pain management, so I left that part out. But welcome, David. Please join us.
thank you, Stephanie. Um, Boy, so many things. Um, as far as my experience with some of the different products, um, probably the biggest the most significant has been with the Zimmunity as well. That it has helped for things to be more stable, just calmer. Kind of the image that comes to mind. I don't know if many of you are skiers, but especially if you're skiing down a um, steep run, and there's these big bumps they call moguls, and you have to move quickly, and um, uh, especially later on in the season, they get kind of icy and hard, and so you're kind of bouncing on them, and if you don't get it just right, then you'll get kind of thrown off and crash, and it can be pretty unpleasant. Um, what I'm feeling when I started taking the Zimmunity mushrooms, I recovered faster. When I emotionally, when I would hit a bump and I feel like a crash was coming, um, I would recover faster. And it seems like with the Afron, the new addition to the Zimmunity, I feel like I'm recovering before I even hit the crash, um, which has been nice. It's nice to not crash. As far as cardio care, I'm using uh, less of the medications to control my blood pressure, and it's under control, which it has on multiple medications it had never been previously, um, and I'm very happy with that.
David, thank you for sharing that. Have you had the opportunity to try the Plus Motion at all, personally,
Yeah,
or with any of your
yes,
distributors or clients?
I've enjoyed doing the plus motion. I am having less pain in my knees, which has been my biggest issue. I As part of the weight challenge, I've lost some weight, not nearly as significant as Steph's, um, but I've lost some. And actually today, um, so we joked a little bit that she was going to pass me up. Today she caught up to me. Um, so if I don't step up my game, she's going to pass me up, and I think she probably will anyway. But my joints have been doing much better. When we go out walking in the evening, or when I run or when I swim, my joints have been feeling better. I haven't had any pain or twinges in my left knee at all. and the ones in my right knee are much less often. I'm really looking forward to getting back into running and hopefully back into triathlons.
Wow, triathlons. That's awesome, David. We saw you last time you were on your bike there on the mountain. So it's great,
Mhm.
right? We're taking care of our bodies so we can get back to the things that we want and we love to do. Thank you
Well,
both
and
so
he
much.
did do a
Yeah.
triathlon the end of July, and he finished it. We were really proud of him. His goal was just to finish. That was part of that was his fun goal as part of the Trim and Slim Challenge, and he finished it. But I was so proud of him for how he finished it, and the he was having issues with his knee that day specifically because he didn't go hiking with me the day before because he didn't want to ruin things for the next day for the triathlon, and he was really struggling through that run. And so it's been really exciting to see his experience with the plus motion and how much more he's walking with me and doing with me as well. So I really have really enjoyed watching that work for him.
Well, it's nice.
I'm really looking forward to using the plus motion with my patients, especially when I'm doing regenerative treatments, having people take the cell defender ahead of time to maximize their health before the injections, and then start with the plus motion afterwards to just to maximize the benefit to their joints.
Wonderful. That's a really great, thought process that you have with your patients. And I'll tell everybody you're from Jordan, Utah, and your practice is in where? In the city?
It's in South Jordan, Utah, which is in
South
the
Jordan.
southern part of the Salt Lake Valley. I do family medicine, pain management, and regenerative medicine.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you're helping lots of people as a team, which is a beautiful thing. That's a nice thing about Avini. You can have husband and wife teams, you have lots of partnership teams, and your cross lines, up lines, down lines. What a beautiful company and beautiful products we do have. So thank you both. Does anyone have a question for Stephanie or David? If you want to raise your hand and Carol will unmute you, or you can unmute yourself if you have a question for either one of them. I can't see the whole screen, but let me take a peek and see if anybody has a question. So, all right. Well, I know that Alan is with us tonight. Alan, I just wanted to ask you if you would share a story about your experience with the Plus Motion, the new product. A lot of. I see we have some guests on tonight. So, Alan, if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about that, your experience. I think it's with your wife. Yes.
That is correct. Her name is Barbara. We've been married over 56 years. Junior high school sweethearts. That's a fun story to talk about. But anyway, um, when I followed Christine, let's see, now I think Christine followed me in getting into the Aveni program. That's been, a couple years ago. But anyway, when this new product, Plus Motion, came out, it was advertised there at the summit, and as soon as it was available to me to order it, I did order that and the New Immunity mushrooms as well. And I started Barbara on those two capsules, morning and evening, immediately upon getting them. And the first full day, she had no pain. Now, a little background: Barbara has ankylosing spondylitis. For those of you who may not know that, it is a syndrome which causes arthritic spurs to proliferate along the spine and eventually solidify the spine. So it's very painful, and pain was a constant for her. Of course, we used Plus Relief quite a bit as well, and that worked as long as it was active in her system. So when I gave her this Plus Motion, we went to a Bible study that morning, and she did not have any pain all during the day. And then in the evening, I gave her other medications along with Plus Motion again. And I asked her, "Have you had any pain?" She said, "None whatsoever." So that was 36 hours, I guess, into using the program. No pain at all for those 36 hours. And she continues today to take it. There has been a day or two in there where she was a little more active than usual. And in the middle of the day, she had a little pain. So I gave her one Plus Motion. remember that we don't have anything that you can overdose on it. So she did get 1+, and I think I've done that twice in the last 6 weeks or so since we've had the product. So it's a blessing for her to not have the pain. It's a blessing for me to know that she can move around better and not be crying and laying still in the bed and scared to move. So I'll tell you, that is it's from my perspective, it's among the best that we have currently.
Alan, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'm pretty excited too. My mother-in-law had displaced a hip a while ago, and she couldn't walk for a couple months or whatever. Long story short, two surgeries, fracture, on and on. And I just as soon as that product came out, I just mailed it to her. So she got it, and she's on it 2 days. So tomorrow's my first phone call back to her. Very excited to hear her news. And we have someone on tonight who it's hard to believe he had surgery today. I won't reveal who it is, but he had surgery today. He's here tonight. So here he is. God bless, probably from the hospital bed, but so glad to see you. We had everybody rallying around you in prayers, and that's what this is all about, supporting one another. Does anybody have a question for Stephanie or David? This is a good opportunity to have them with us tonight, all the way from Utah, and talking about the experience. You know, Stephanie, I worked a lot in not-for-profit work, and I got trained as a first responder in mental health crisis. And I've been on some of those cases where I just, you know, looking back, I say, goodness gracious, I didn't know anything about Avini back then. But I've had the opportunity to reach out to some of those past families that I dealt with. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to share your story with them, because it's such a blessing. And I want to say, to be so vulnerable, for you and David to take the big step of your vulnerability to come and speak upon this. You know, we're very, very grateful to you, to both of you. So kudos. Yeah, everybody's right. Give her a thumbs up and claps for sure. All right, guys. Stephanie, um, any comments before we let you go? I'm going to have Chip share, and Gary's going to do the events at the end. But Stephanie, what else would you like? Anything else, or David, you'd like to share before we part?
Well, I think one of the things that I've loved the most is since we decided to do to take the products and to start sharing them with people back in March of 23, we've been blessed enough to receive a check from the company every single month ever since. And which has been really exciting because that helps to pay for the products, that helps to, and it's really fun to just watch lives change and to watch, how people go from their status quo to something that is so much more miraculous than they ever imagined, and really enjoyed. So, we're continuing to share. David, just opened up private practice, and he's starting, he's been using them. He used them in his previous clinic, and now he's using them, in his new practice. And it's been an amazing experience. And just the way that, Neil made the comment once about how Avini is for the heart and soul, and the body, heart, and soul, or body, mind, and soul. And he was really cute. He's like, as far as Steph goes, it's her mind was where we started, because my mind was very shattered and broken, and not only with the mental stuff but also with the cognitive stuff. And so the mind and vision has been huge for me, and it's been really exciting to see the changes there. But we started with the mind, and then I got the opportunity to be one of the first testers in the MJ program, and that made a huge difference for my soul. And then now we've done this huge, this amazing trim and slim challenge, which I love a challenge. And so here I am watching my body change, and so it's body, mind, and soul, and I've seen the whole transformation, and I feel younger. I have more energy. My mind works better. I'm mentally more stable than I've ever been in my entire life. And that there's no price you can pay for that. And there's no way that I can repay them. And we belong to a company that the CEO walks up and gives you a hug and tells you he's glad to see you. And, what other company does that? And, and you get to go up and you need to have a conversation with the biochemist that makes the products and has all of the knowledge, and you get to glean from him and just listen, and no other company has that. And so like there's no downfall when it comes to Avini. And I'm just grateful that I skipped over my super angry thoughts when I went, to learn about this in the beginning, because my parents had gotten into another thing, and what a dumb decision they'd made. And thankfully my heart was opened and I was able to listen, and we saved an uncle and we've saved friends, and we've changed lives. And I've watched my husband change. That's been really exciting, because he has gone from this pharmaceutical minded, scientific minded husband to, oh, well, maybe this natural thing might help you better. And that's been really exciting, because I think that he has become so much better of a doctor through this. And that's something I'm also grateful for. So yeah,
Can
also
I
great.
chime in?
Wow. Is that Steve?
No, this is Jennifer Allen.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome.
I just want to say how grateful I am, beyond grateful, for Stephanie and David. If it weren't for Stephanie, I wouldn't know anything about Avini. And I've gone through, everybody goes through ups and downs like yo-yos. But I'll tell you what, through it all, I can't live without the cell defender. And I can't live without this immunity. Everything else is just kind of a bonus area for me, because well, I'm not going to give my testimony tonight, but I could go on and on and on about how wonderful, the one guy mentioned, I don't know who that was, the question to Chip about the sleeping. I take Immunity and I'm out cold. And that's the truth. And the doctors were putting me, am I allowed to say this? I
Well,
don't know.
so what I love to do, Jen, is I love to have you come back and you have your own time. Would you mind
Oh,
that? I'm gonna
that's fine, sure.
Let's get you back on and let's hear your story, because that's what this is about, sharing. And thanks for thanking them, because that's what it's about. So
Oh,
Jen,
I love Stephanie and David.
from Pennsylvania, right? I remember that.
Yep, I'm from Pennsylvania.
To my neighbor, New York. So
Stephanie's my partner in crime.
there you go. That's what it's about. It's about the joint. All right. Thanks, Jen.
You're
Gary,
welcome.
why don't you do the events for us, and then I'm going to ask Chip if he would close us out. All right. Steve Crawford, you're unmuted. Did you want to share anything before Gary does that?
I'm just so thankful for the products, for everything that's happened for all of us, because I could take hours telling people what's happened for me. So, and to have Stephanie whole is awesome.
You know her pretty well, don't you?
Yep.
Love
Our
you, Steve.
our listeners don't know who you are, but
All right.
we're
Just one other thing. At the last summit, the keyword, the new word was crepitus, and I just stood up and did a deep knee bend and feeling each of my knees as I was doing it, and I didn't have crepitus.
Amen. Amen. It's great, right?
It's nice.
Hey, that's awesome. Say, and I was able to walk down the steps one leg at a time. I had a tib fib fracture a while ago, screws, bolts, and always favor the other leg to go first, but I can go down both evenly now. So, hey, I'm grateful too. So, thank you all for sharing tonight. Thank you so much, Steve. Good to see you, Jen. Gary, do you mind just giving our listeners like an event little schedule, and then Chip's going to close us out for tonight.
Absolutely. So, and for the layperson, that technical word, crepitus or whatever it is, it's the snap, crackle, and pop of Rice Krispies. coming out of your bones. So on to the events. There are two regional events coming up. The first one is in October. It's occurring in Tennessee, in the town of Franklin. The airport that you fly into is Nashville, and that's the 10th and 11th. It's the evening of the 10th and the Saturday, the 11th. That's of October. 10 and 11, Friday, Saturday in October, and then the November event is at the on the 14th, the evening of the 14th and 15th of November, and that's at the Avini manufacturing facility in Boca Raton. And that again is in the evening of the 14th with I believe it's 8:30 to 4 o'clock event at a nearby hotel. So check your Avini calendar for that, but mark your calendar for the October 10 and 11 and November 14th and 15th. Back to you, Christine.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks for doing that. Really appreciate it. Hey, guys, get your tickets because at the Boca we did last year, it's a great event and they do the tours. So you want to sign up for the tour. So it's a Avini Events for sure. Thanks, Gary. Chip, would you mind just words of wisdom and closing us out, please?
Sure. Can you hear me okay, Christine?
Yes.
Okay. Well, sometimes when you meet someone, it kind of makes an indelible mark, and it was that way with Stephanie. It was at the end of an event for one of our previous companies, and I was going to stay till the next fly out the next morning. I stepped out, and she was sitting at a table just outside the event, doing something on her phone. Sat down and started talking to her, and I think she was arranging to get a ride to a rental car, and then she was heading up the coast to talk to this person, that person, and the other person. And I thought, oh, she's kind of a moving target here. I remember kind of making a little highlight in my mind about Stephanie at that point. Then she shows up, and I thought the first time that I ran into her with Dr. David was in Texas, I thought, at the event. And he was really being careful. At that point, he was probably thinking, okay, I need to be protective of her. But the comment a moment ago was about scientific. And when you start working around Avini and Rick Deitch and the products, they're plenty scientific, right? I mean, they're plenty scientific. They're just as good, maybe better. And you guys know, it was neat to see Alan tell the story about Barbara. That's a welcome story. Alan's sitting up there in the corner of my Zoom, kind of quietly understating himself. He is a gigantic major network marketing leader when he's free to move around. But when Barbara doesn't feel good, Alan can't take the show on the road. So if this product frees them up to be who they really are, representing an idea, that would be remarkable. In the meantime, I'm sure for her to tell him, I've had comfort. Throughout tonight's call, and this is kind of my theme for the week, I think a super important theme, maybe one of the most important realizations that I've had. Remember, I was a forward air controller. The most important things that I would say and needed to make sure that was okay was clear to land and clear to take off. If I told you one of those two things, I better be right. So I'm going to ask you guys to just clear your minds for a second, and I'm going to ask for clearance to land a gigantic idea. And then I'm going to let you go out to the public and give you clearance to take off and go tell this idea. How many of the instances that we run into in human difficulties these days wind up the apparent answer that comes up, with the clear thinkers is we got to spend some time on mental health. And what did you hear tonight on the call? Yeah, Stephanie, that's what she came about. But then Christine always surprises me. I think she's my sister from a previous life or something, but she shocks me. I didn't know she had a broken leg with all kinds of pins in it. Me too. but I didn't know she was a first responder for mental health. So mental health, mental health. Here's the big idea I'm asking for clearance to land in your brain tonight. A non-optional prerequisite for mental health is a healthy brain. Seems obvious once you say it, right? But what is one of the benefits that you get from a Avini? You know, these sleep things, these mood things, these gut health things, these all tie into healthy tissues, including a healthy brain. And so if indeed the problem in humanity comes back to mental health, and you look at what Avini's doing, we've had a healthy brain product line for quite a while. We also have had a healthy mental health product line and way of working together from the very beginning. The news immunity ingredient, saffron, has given us the freedom to claim that. And once again, how important is this? How important is what we're doing together in Avini? If indeed everyone's closer to the edge of disaster mental health wise, because the tissues in their brains are toxic. Everyone is unintentionally slightly intoxicated, right? Unintentionally, unavoidably, slightly intoxicated. Nothing you could do about it until now. The first thing to come along that you could actually do something about your brain health that just instantly, unavoidably leads to mental health. With that idea in your mind, you are now cleared for takeoff.
Thank you, Chip. Good thing we have Chip with us. He gives us that opportunity to land, take off, and have peace of mind as we speak the truth going forward. So listen, everyone. Grateful, Stephanie. Thank you, David, for being. Oh, Stephanie, you have a
Stephanie has her hand up.
Go ahead, honey.
So one more thing that I thought of while Chip was
Sure.
talking, I started to kind of hit it, but then I moved on, was that, you know, with the previous product, before they added the Afron, I could only go about a day and a half, 2 days without problems, right? And one of the things that I learned after starting this, I'd only been taking the new product for about a week and a half, and we were coming up close to the summit, and I wanted to be able to know, you know, what the differences were. And so, you know, I like to find my baseline. And so I went off the product, and I was able to go 5 days, and I got ornerier for sure, but I did not have any dips in the suicidal issues. And even, you know, a month and a half, 2 months before, I had tried going off of them and only lasted about a day and a half. So in a 5 day period, I didn't have any dips in the mental health aspect. I did get angrier. And so I went ahead and went back on because we actually had a friend come and stay with us. And I'm like, I need to be kind. But that was interesting to me. So with the new product, it is substantially stronger. It's better. It's doing a better job. And it's making a giant difference already. So I'm really excited about it. I don't plan on going off of them. Don't get me wrong, but I do like to find my baseline sometimes. So
Well, that's an interesting point. And once again, thank you both to you and David. Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable to your experience, but you're changing many, many lives. And that's what Avini Vibes and Avini, this company, is all about. If you're guests, please get with the person that invited you. Don't let this opportunity to learn more, because you never know who's asking for the answer, and perhaps you're the one that has it. So Carol Witt, thank you so much for doing the technical always. Thank you, Chip. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We'll see you next week, okay? Have a blessed night, and God bless.
Good
And
night, everyone.
go watch the tennis.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.